Thank you for your talk, whatever kind of talk it was. And does anyone have any questions? Uh, there is something I'd like to talk about. Um, we had been chanting, Kwanzaa Bosal chanting for a number of people, including Nancy Brem, for the last quite a few months. She was quite ill. And now we're chanting Jijang Bosal for her because she died 3 nights ago, 4 nights ago. Nancy is my sister, so I grew up with her. She's 2 years younger than I am. And just want to tell you about a practice that we have when someone dies, anyone, but mostly someone who's dear to you, someone you honor, someone you value, someone with whom you've had a close relationship. So the practice is to chant Jijang Bosal every day for 49 days. And it's not just repeating Jijang Bosal, it's the full Jijang Bosal chant, which is in the chanting book, if you'd like to look it up. Jijang Bosal, as Zen Master Sung San charmingly put it, is the bodhisattva who takes care of dead people. Jijang means earth womb, the earth as a womb. So the earth is a burial place, but it's also a birthplace. So in Buddhist teaching, the soul, or whatever you might want to call the essence of the person who died, takes 49 days to resolve what has happened. And you can think of that resolution as some kind of rebirth or some kind of coming to peace with death. And so we chant for 49 days. So I've started that, and of course I'll continue. Then on the 49th day, there's a ceremony. It's called the 49-day ceremony. And that, if you want to find out more about that ceremony, it's on the, certainly on the school website. I imagine I haven't checked, that it's on the Kansas Zen Center website, the 49-day ceremony. And so there's a little booklet for it. It's a very powerful ceremony. We haven't done it much at the Zen Center, but enough to experience what it's like. It used to be somewhat longer, and to my regret, part of it was edited out because, well, it felt it took too long. But the part that was edited out was extremely powerful. It was filled with laments and filled with prayers, really, to all sorts of astral beings. I hope I can find a copy of the old ceremony. I'm sure it's somewhere. I don't know that it will be public, but Judy and I will decide on that. As I said, we haven't done many of these ceremonies. So chanting for someone with whom you've been very close, especially for 49 days, which I've done for my mother and my father many, many years ago when they died, is a wonderful experience. When someone dies, our culture really doesn't have, our general culture, I mean our Buddhist culture, very many good ways of dealing with that. of resolving it, of a peaceful, meaningful resolution. So I wanted to tell you all about this practice, and some of you might want to do it someday, um, both as a private practice for 49 days or a ceremony at the Zen Center at the end of the 49 days. My niece, Holly, my sister's daughter, was with her day and night for weeks on end at the facility where she was being, my sister was being cared for. It was truly heroic. And she's arranging the funeral, and she wants each of the surviving siblings, myself, my brother, and my other sister, to tell a funny story about Nancy. And I don't know if I can think of a funny story about her. When I think about her, I think about her as someone who was really filled with joy, even at a very early age. And the image of her that I have in my mind, it keeps recurring, is when she was jumping rope. So she loved to jump rope. And, there are all sorts of jump rope songs that go with it, and the complicated moves that you can get into with group jump roping. And that's how I picture her, just jumping rope and singing a song. So I'll leave my reminiscences of my sister right there. Thank you for listening. Are there any questions now?
I have a question.
Yes.
I was curious because it kind of popped up when I was doing orientation this morning about one of the practices we do when meditating, when asking "What am I?" Don't know. Did Sung Sung come up with that, or was it passed down from other teachers to him?
That practice is known as holding the great question. He didn't make it up. No. There are different forms of holding the great question. The two most common ones are, what am I? The other is, what is this? What am I can be a practice that's very effective in realizing the non-self, to put it that way. But it also can be a little introverted. What am I? In other words, it emphasizes the I. So another form is, what is this? Which is the form I prefer, actually. What is this? This being everything that you're experiencing at any given moment. What is this? There's a monk that I know who actually shortens it to what? But that can become a little flip. What? What? But that could be effective too. What? What the hell? That kind of what. So yeah, those are all good practices, and they're found in other traditions. I'm trying to think of a practice that Zen Master Sung San may have made up, and none come to mind, actually. Maybe someone else can think of one. I'm not thinking so clearly right now. But thank you for your question. And by the way, Jacob, what are you? I don't know if everyone is able to see Jacob's shrug, but we'll take that as don't know. So that can be integrated with what am I. You breathe in, what am I? You breathe out, don't know. Now, I think Zen Master Sung San did make up that form of the practice. What am I? Followed by a very strong don't know. For as long as you can sustain your out breath. So if you're going to practice that, that's the way I would recommend practicing it. Breathing in the great question, whatever it is for you, and breathing out, don't know. So thank you for that question.
Could you say something about don't know?
Don't know, but I could try. So there are different ways you can understand what is it, don't know. What does don't know mean? So it can be an admission of failure. Like, damn, I'm stupid. You know, don't even know what I am. So that's not the spirit of don't know. The spirit of don't know is not to engage in thinking. Don't know in that sense. To cut off all thinking. And it can be a very effective phrase for cutting off all thinking. So, don't by itself is a very strong admonition. Somebody is about to do something crazy or stupid or harmful. Don't! So, don't know can have that spirit as well. Don't be making up all this stuff all the time. So you can reduce it if you want to one word, but I don't know. That's a little bare. There's more that can be said about don't know, but I'm sorry, it's not coming to my mind right now. We may have a sequel to this question sometime. Are there any other questions?
I don't have a question. I just wanted to say thank you to Jacob and let you know sometimes you say words that come to someone else in a way that you didn't intend but are meaningful. I found Kansas Zen Center going through a great deal of grief, which I'm still dealing with. And it's like a phantom limb, the love I had for that person that I still feel. So thank you.
I'm sorry for the grief that you have now. And I hope that this practice helps you through it. This practice has helped many, many people through all sorts of grief, and helping me right now through grief. So my hope is that you really do stay with the practice. And you might want to consult, not right now, with one of us, with Judy, myself, as to what form of practice might be best for you right now. So if you want to get in touch with us, that's very easy. You can do it just by emailing Kansas Zen Center address, and we'd be glad to talk with you. So this has been a pretty somber session. Does anybody have a lighthearted question? Jacob smiling.
Hi, this is Shuang. May I ask a question about that? What am I, if that's okay? So when we ask this question, what am I? Are we questioning the nature of our existence? Or are we asking a general question? What is this I that does not exist? So is this a more personal question, or this is a general question? Yeah, I don't know if the question makes sense, but I've been thinking about that.
It's a good question. And yes, it makes sense. So all of our lives, we hold on to some sense of what we are. So we never question it, apart from a practice such as this. You know, this sense of I, develops through childhood. All of the people in our lives contribute to it in some way, mostly reinforcing it. Um, Zen practice is a practice that helps you deconstruct it, this edifice of the self that we all create. We've been creating it since we were very little, so it's an imposing edifice. It's as if you're trying to knock down this huge structure with the most meager of tools, perhaps. You have maybe this little hammer and you're tinkering away at this big thing that you're trying to knock down. So you need a strong practice. And asking the question, what am I? Really looking at it, not just automatically sliding into the phrase, don't know, but really looking at it is the best way to deconstruct this self and see what is actually there. So that's the spirit of Zen practice in general, in one way or another, but very specifically, this particular practice, asking, holding the great question. So when you were born, where do you come from? When you die, where do you go? Those are the first two lines of the human root, which kind of sadly only really come up in our practice in the very first interviews, kind of like the preparation interviews, preparation for kongans. It's composed by a Korean monk. His name escapes me right now. Around the 12th century. When you were born, where do you come from? When you die, where do you go? Life is like a floating cloud that appears. Death is like a floating cloud that disappears. Originally, the floating cloud does not exist. Life and death, coming, going, are also like that. But there is one thing that always remains clear. It is pure and clear, not dependent on life and death. Then what is the one pure and clear thing? That's the human root. And you can find it online easily. It's not usually recommended as a practice when you're sitting, but actually it's a very strong practice when you're sitting. It's only maybe a dozen lines long and easy to memorize. And you might want to try that as a practice in dealing with this thing that is not a thing that we call the self. pure and clear, not depending on life and death. I'm reading from the chat right now, so Judy has posted it. Thank you. So let's end there, and thank you all very much for your practice and your support.